final guest, who is a very interesting man. He is also a professor, and he has a history of being I mean, listen to this sentence. He's a serial finance minister.
Yes.
How many times do you say that? That you can introduce a professor of finance, and he's a serial finance minister, and he is Slovenia's former finance minister. Dušan,
welcome.
How do we say it? Mramor.
This is excellent, actually. When I was first in UK, they couldn't pronounce neither my first nor my last name, so it is correctly pronounced Dušan Mramor. But what they did, because Dušan is too difficult, I was due, and Mr. Amor, I became Mr. Amor with a thought after Mr.
Okay.
Okay, and once I was in Barcelona, actually, I was in a hotel and I was checked in by Mr. Amor.
Mr. Amor.
Yes.
Mr. Amor. All right.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are here in the capacity as member of the International Advisory Board.
Yes.
And what are your first impressions of Slush so far?
No, I'm amazed, actually. I was not aware that something like that is happening here. And I must say that we were discussing a lot what caused such a fantastic growth of this event. And I think there are many factors, probably the right timing and, you know, the right industry that is presented here. But I think that it is also socially dependent on the deprivileged young generation, which through such an event actually shows that it is able and willing, actually.
Did you say privileged or
deprivileged?
Deprivileged.
Deprivileged, because we have very high unemployment in EU of youth, or had it, now it's being reduced. But and also the younger generation is becoming smaller and smaller in our structure because of aging population. So I think that they are showing us through such events, which they organize, everything is possible. Administrative burden is small. Practically, you can do in a very easy way what you cannot do within the original system. So I think that they are showing us that we are able to do it, and this is why there's such an energy.
You are not only a former finance minister. You were a finance minister between 2002 and 2004, at the same, coinciding with the time that Slovenia joined both the euro and the EU. And the second time, is that right?
Yes, correct.
And the second time was between 2014 and 2016, so fairly recently.
Yeah, last year I stepped down.
Last year you stepped down, and and at the same time your parallel career is a professor of finance at the University of Ljubljiana.
Correct, and the dean.
And the dean.
Yeah, 6 years.
So that is a stellar academic/political career. I suppose that one thing that comes up often in academic circles is the question of impact, and it seems like you have answered to the question of impact just by looking at your CV.
Okay, no, I disagree, actually.
Okay.
Because impact I measure with the results of my work. And with, of course, it's not just mine, but I was the leader by the whole ministry and the whole government, let's say, when I was finance minister. And I was twice nominated as finance minister when it was really difficult. First time when we were entering European Union with all the 10 transition economies, and we had to prepare the whole legal system. I remember just in the field of finance, we had to pass through the parliament 70 new laws in 1.5 years to adjust our legal system in financial field with European. And then we had to prepare also the economy macroeconomically so that we would be harmonized well with European Union average in order to stay competitive and not to lose, the growth. So we had to do many measures to reduce inflation and to reduce interest rates that we had to pay on our debts. and at the same time not to spoil the growth. So all that was done, and we were entering European Monetary Union, that taking over Euro as the first country among transition economies. And the second time I took over ministry when there was huge, after the biggest drop in GDP and the biggest loss-making actually economy ever, even during Yugoslavia. So it was difficult again. But the results were really good. My team did a fantastic job. Just today I got numbers.
You can speak a little bit closer to it.
Just today I got numbers. Our growth rate in the first, second and the third quarter of this year was approximately 5% in real terms, and our unemployment dropped to 6.3%, which is fantastic.
Congratulations. One thing I wanted to ask you about was cryptocurrencies, because that is all the rage now in our world of kind of entrepreneurship. And well, just this week,
Bitcoin passed 10,000.
Bitcoin passed 10, and they were up to 11, and they've dropped to 9. I heard. What is your take on cryptocurrencies?
Not positive.
Okay.
Cryptocurrencies were used also in Slovenia by small companies, startups and so on, to gather funds, because it was difficult during the crisis otherwise. So they developed quite an expertise how to do this, but a lot of them will not, are just a pyramid scheme actually for those who invested money into it. And I'm afraid that this will be, that there will be another crisis, because people will lose money.
What do you think should be done? On a political or policy level?
I would say the blockchain is different. In blockchain there are quite good. Yeah, there are quite good prospects. There, of course, it can go wrong, but there are prospects. With cryptocurrencies, I think there will be a big disappointment. I was also the chairman of Security and Exchange Commission, the first one in Slovenia.
Okay.
And this is very similar. People lost a lot at the end. Financial system collapsed during the crisis, and this was very bad for people. Even the young, not even, but younger generation suffered the most. So I'm not positive about it.
But with so many different cryptocurrencies, do you think any of them have any prospects, or are they all bad?
When it will start breaking, there will be definitely an effect which will be going from one cryptocurrency to the other. You know, it cannot be. It's very difficult in financial system to single out and say this is good, this is bad, because the psychology works like that. If cryptocurrency, this one fails, there will be a systematic problem, so that more or less everyone will fail.
Okay.
So I'm not very positive about it.
I'm conscious of time. I'd like to end on a positive note. If there is one kind of topic or theme or line of business within kind of what is now going on in entrepreneurial circles, what do you think you would single out as kind of a beacon of light?
What I would say that I don't know whether you are aware that in this next plan for the future, China accepted an orientation towards artificial intelligence as the one that would support the growth of China in the long run, because they will be exhausting labor force increase in the towns from the rural areas, and there won't be an ability anymore to grow on the basis of more and more labor added. So they designed their system or their goals in such a way that artificial intelligence will replace a lot of simple tasks that people do, and try to push with education people, you know, on a higher level of knowledge and higher value-added tasks. And I think, you know, when I look at Slush, this is very similar. You know, many of these entrepreneurial startups, you know, are in the field, and that's the same in Slovenia, in the field of higher tech, higher technology, even artificial intelligence not on a level that it should be here in the future, but there is a lot of prospects in these fields. So I see an event like this, and when you go and try to see what they are offering, that's the right direction.
So we're finishing this on a utopian note of artificial intelligence and the robots.
I don't think so. I think that they will be just taking over simple tasks while thinking, and high value added and high wages will stay with us.
Very good.
Not with robots.
Please come back. We'd love talking more to you at some other time.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much, and an honor.
Thanks for being here. Thank you.
And that wraps, and with that, that's